My name's Mary Beth King. So nice to meet you all, and thank you for attending. This is being recorded, and so just so you know that, I'm going to my partner in crime here, so to speak, is Rob Cohen. If you want to give a wave to Rob, and so we've had really good attendance. So this is wonderful, and I thank you. I am going to share my screen now, and we'll start the presentation. Okay, can everybody see? It's like a triangle, and on the one side it says orientation for presenters and class managers.
Yep.
Everybody sees it? Okay,
Yep.
great. And so we're going to start off by muting everybody, and then we will, if you need to speak, you can either raise your hand or unmute yourself, and you can use either your mouse or the space bar on your device. All right, so, okay, and you can still hear me. All right, so we'll get moving along here. So as I said, Rob is the Zoom class coordinator for this semester. Here's his email, and he'll be speaking in the second portion of this presentation. And I, Mary Beth King, am doing the on-campus class manager duties. So here, let me see, there we go. So first of all, we want to start out by thanking everybody, whether you're a presenter or a class manager, for volunteering. You know that the LLI is really purely a volunteer organization. So without people volunteering, it really wouldn't work. So thank you very much. And we want to give a special shout out to Barbara Conley and Rose Alice Diavenzo, who were very instrumental in helping Rob and I pull this together. You might have received a call from one of them, and they were very helpful in making suggestions and helping us put this PowerPoint together. So thank you, Barbara and Rose Alice. So just so you know, this PowerPoint and a recording of this session, as well as the guidelines for the on-campus guidelines and the Zoom guidelines, they will be available to you so you can relax and just listen. And all of this content will be on the homepage of the LLI. So here we are at the homepage. If you look down to the left, you'll see information for presenters and class managers. And if you click on that link, then you will find, sorry about that. You will find the PowerPoint. I think Rachel put it up this afternoon. We'll put the recording up and then the guidelines for you as well. So that's where you'll find this information under information for presenters and class managers. We are going to have tech support on Tuesdays right now. We're having member tech support from Rob. That will be the Zoom classes, because on Tuesdays, that's what we have. And on Fridays, Mihai was able to secure a student by the name of Ed Feeney. That is his email address, and there is his phone number. He will be in the hospitality room on Fridays so that he can quickly respond to any calls he receives. So in real time, if you are having a problem in your room, don't hesitate to call Ed. Probably easier to call him than to email him, and he will be in the hospitality room waiting to respond. So you could even, now or before class starts, put his name and number in your cell phone so you have it readily available should you need him. And I have put his name and number on the on-campus guidelines that are on the homepage. So you shouldn't have trouble finding it. But if you do, Rob and I are available to you. So just shoot us a email, or an email is probably the best. Okay, so the course materials, they're going to be posted to the LLI website. This is new this year. So in the past, we would load things onto Moodle, and I know that it was a dissatisfier. People had trouble following all the steps to put something on Moodle, and and accessing it. So Mihai has worked very hard to develop a link that you just click on, and you can access documents, movies, whatever it is for your particular class. That will be readily available to you, not through Moodle, but through this link. So copyrighted material. So let me just say, all the class materials will be viewable by all class participants, whether you're registered for the class or not, with the exception of copyrighted materials. So those classes that are using copyrighted materials, those materials will be posted behind a privacy wall, and the registrants will be given a password or a special code to get into that link to view those documents, or the films. It's mostly films and music. So, and I'll do a demo of that. If you're a presenter and you have course materials, handouts, films, music, etc., please get them to Mihai, and he will post them to this website. And I think here is a picture again of the homepage. And when you go down again on the left, it'll say current semester course materials. And that's where these materials will be housed. Any questions on that?
Yes.
Go ahead.
This is Brian Mann. So
Oh, hi, Brian.
I myself can't post anything directly to this site. Everything has to go through Mihai.
To the best of my knowledge, that is correct.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Mary
Any
Beth?
other? Yep. Any other questions?
So if a presenter wants to just work off of their computer, is that okay? It doesn't have to be loaded to this site, correct?
No, if you like, if you're doing a presentation like I am now, and uh you can just do your presentation. But if you have a PDF that you want to give them, or an outline, or course materials that you would ordinarily hand out, like as a physical object or a link, you can give them to Mihai and he'll post them.
So that could be in lieu of, like, some presenters want some material sent out in ahead of the class? It would be
Yes,
in lieu of that?
yes.
Okay.
And the reason for that is in pro class, it's difficult to send things as an attachment. So and which is how we're training our class managers to send emails through pro class to the course registrants. And so they would need to create a link, and it was a little difficult so we came up with this system.
Okay.
I have another
All right.
question.
Yes, go ahead.
In the past, I have given my materials to my class manager,
Yeah,
and she has sent them out to the students sort of directly. And we've done that for the last couple of semesters, and it's been pretty sort of snafu free. Do you want like full compliance on
well,
like
you can, so do we want full compliance?
going through Mihai as opposed to doing it ourselves?
Yes. So if you have a class manager that is comfortable and competent
She is.
to send things out as an attachment or a
Yep.
link to the documents, that's fine. You don't have to go through Mihai. But we found that not all of our class managers had that
Sure.
competency. So it's really between the presenter and the class manager. Yeah.
Thank you. That's great.
Okay. Any
Yep.
other questions?
Yeah, what about getting photocopies to hand out in class?
Photocopies to hand out in
In
class.
other words, handouts.
Yes. You mean who would photocopy them?
Yes.
Okay, Rob, do you know the answer to that question?
No,
Okay, I'm not sure either, but Brian, I'll make a note and then I'll find out.
Actually, I mean, if I can, if I can get my wife to print them out here at home, then
Yeah.
I can actually take them into the music department and do them there because I'm a emeritus member.
Right,
of the music.
right. You
So,
have that privilege, right?
Yeah, I have the key to the copy room.
Oh, that's all
yeah.
important key.
Yeah, so maybe I'll be able to solve that problem, I hope.
Okay, well, I'll try to find out for you as well.
Great, thank you.
Okay, all right. Anything else before we move on? I'm not looking at the chat. I don't see anything. Okay, great. So we'll move on then. So this was a member suggestion that people please wear their name badges. Especially when you're on campus or when you're on Zoom, to put your name in your box, because, names and faces, sometimes people forget and they say, oh, the member said, oh, I know I talked to her. I forget her name. And it was, I've talked to her so much, it was uncomfortable for me to ask her what her name is. So, it's just a simple thing, but that was a member suggestion. And if you do need a badge, don't hesitate to contact Rachel Etkin, who is our administrative assistant. So just for on campus then, if you are a class manager on campus at the beginning of the first class, and this is for life safety reasons, we ask that you point out where the emergency exits are, where the elevator is, and where the bathrooms are. You don't need to do that every class, but we ask that you at least do it in the first class. Let me see, I see something in question on the badges. Miriam, go ahead. Did you have a question?
Is your mute on, Miriam?
Let's
Excuse
see.
me, I'm sorry. Now,
Oh, there you go.
okay. Last year I had no badge. Does this mean if you weren't there in the fall but are coming in the spring, I need to contact Rachel? There won't be a badge for me, or is there automatically a
I
badge?
think
How
so.
does this
I
work?
think the assumption is that the badges were given out in September. So
Yeah.
if you didn't, and I was gone in September, so I
Okay.
didn't get a badge either.
Okay,
So
so-
I think just contact her. Yeah.
Okay, that's easy, but now I know. Okay,
Yeah.
thank.
No
'Cause-
problem. You know what? That's what this is for, is to get people's questions answered. And if you have it, somebody else might have the same question. So, okay, so that's the badges, life safety, first class, emergency exits, elevator, and the bathrooms. Whoops, let's see. There we go. And then, I think this is pretty standard now. We ask people to put their cell phones, whether you're in the class or on a Zoom, to put it in silent mode. Let's see. Would it be helpful if the class managers described on day one the shuttle schedule? Well, I guess so. I hadn't thought about that. What do you think, Rob? Rob
I
there?
guess, I
I think
think,
it just keeps moving, right?
yeah, I think you just wait. I think that that might be something that's better documented on the website for people to just look at when they need it. I hate to load up the class time with too many announcements, you know.
Right.
So
Well,
if
I
we just,
think, yeah, I'll write that down and offer that as a suggestion too. How's that, Judy? Is that all right? Just so people know how it works. Okay. Judy, I'm assuming we're good.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, now I can hear you.
Some people seem to have a phone number that they can call if the shuttle doesn't come and they're standing out there in the rain. And I thought it would be good if everybody had that number and perhaps the class managers could give it to people.
I don't know.
Some people seem to be in direct contact.
Communication with the
Right.
shuttle. All right, well, we'll find out about that, and if we find that out, we'll be sure to share it.
Yeah, I think that'd be helpful. Thanks.
Okay, great. Okay, so that's their cell phone etiquette. And just as a reminder, in the classrooms, there's to be no eating. And on Zoom, if you're eating, it's probably not so pleasant to look at. So, you know, we would ask you to not have your video on if you're having your breakfast while your lunch while you're listening to the class. In the classroom, on campus, if you do have a drink, it must be in a covered container, such as what you see here. So those are just some rules of the road. If you are on Zoom, our presenters have asked that, and we encourage you to keep your video on. It's really hard to just talk to a screen full of black squares. So it's much more lively if you keep your video on, or you can not have the video on and then say, okay, now we're going to have a little bit of a discussion. If everybody could turn on their video, and we'll use the gallery view. And that way everybody can kind of see each other as they're talking. So that's for Zoom. Now, our on-campus attendance, the folders will be color-coded and in a box in the hospitality room. So we ask you to pick them up, have people sign in as they enter the classroom. If someone is not registered for the class, they really shouldn't be attending the classes because there are limited number of seats in the rooms. However, we're also not asking you to be a policeman. So if you can say, you know, are you sure you're registered? You know, we don't want to have a confrontation. So you can have them sign in. And if they're not registered, we'll follow up accordingly in between the 2 weeks of the class. And then just return your attendance sheet to the folder.
Mary Beth, I have a question.
Yes.
I had an email from a fellow whose wife got into the class and he didn't. And he asked me if I'd let him in. And I wrote back and said, of course. Both of them took the course that I taught last year.
Uh-huh.
But I haven't told anyone that I've given him permission. So how do I get that? Who should I get that information to?
You should probably get that information to Paul Stoddard.
Okay.
And do you know that name or?
Well, no.
Okay, I will, after this is done, I'll send you his email.
Okay.
Now, the other thing is there are some classes that have opened up. They've put in additional seats. So I don't know if yours is one of them. So
I remember I'm teaching in Skinner Hall and the class got a lot of chairs. So
okay,
it's
so
not
it wouldn't be a problem.
Nope.
Okay, so I'll send you his name.
and we
Okay,
don't give quizzes and midterms.
All right. Okay. So, new this year is the off-campus and the Zoom attendance. We're gonna do it a little differently. There's going to be a link, that, section that I showed you, information for presenters and class managers. There will be a link on that, page. You click on the link, you'll select your course, the date, the number of attendees, and click submit. So you could do that from your phone. It's very easy. And what's nice is it automatically puts the information into a spreadsheet. So it's very, very efficient. So that's
Quick
what we'll-
question. Is
Yeah.
this a late breaking change? Because I was told that the Zoom people don't have to do anything because we're using the Vassar Zoom. And that Rachel
No,
can just,
this is a late breaking change. We got an email about this maybe a week ago, Rob?
right, but the whole reason for for
You know,
laying
Rob,
it,
I
okay,
think we
we'll
have to
take it
take that
offline.
offline. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, this is, yeah. So we'll follow up with that. I always, when I do the orientation, I like to
Mary
put,
Beth?
yeah,
I'm sorry, but can we go
no
back to
problem.
the attendance and drop ad? I had a situation where, I had it before registration, and then I had it, last week, where 3 people signed up for the class, not understanding that it's the same class I taught before. So they're going to drop it. I contacted them, okay?
Yep,
Because mine was filled up. In fact, I mean, I don't know,
Right.
the description was the same, but at any rate, they signed up for it. So when they go to add drop, okay, will it be available in real time so that others could fill in? Do you understand what I'm asking? Because
Yeah,
right now it
yeah.
says that it's closed. Okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
great. Thank you.
yep. Mhm.
Sorry.
No problem, no problem. No, I don't mind anybody asking questions or comments or anything. That's what this is for.
Okay.
So, I always like to put in a plug for Joe Howsam, who does a really nice job with our newsletter. And, we bring this up to the class managers and presenters so that, you know, if the class managers, or you want to encourage the people in your class to write a paragraph or two, you know, it's not like a dissertation, but simply a paragraph or two about the class. What did you learn? What did you like? And of course, photos are always, you know, worth 1,000 words. So particularly in some of our art classes or nature type classes, if you're submitting photos, that really adds to the joy of the newsletter. And there's Joe's email for you. And it's also, of course, on our webpage as well. At the end of the semester, as we approach the last week, the registrants will be, yeah, yeah. Will be sorry, I lost my train of thought here. The course registrants will be emailed the course evaluation, and we ask the class managers to remind everybody to complete the evaluation form. And that form is only live, I should say. It expires within 5 to 7 days. So there is some time sensitivity to it. And if you could remind people, and we'll be reminding you to remind them. So that is, that's coming up towards the end of the semester. And then here is the email content that you received, or you should have received. If you haven't, let us know that you want to share with the course registrants. So what's the name of the course, the time, when it's being held, who the presenter is, who the class manager is, how to contact them, where the class is being held, if it's on campus, and what the Zoom link is if it's off campus. So how do you do that? So we want you to send that out. Really, it's now Wednesday, so, you know, for our Zoom classes, we're nearing into the week. And for our on campus, we've still got about maybe 8, 9, 10 days. But we'd like you to send that out within the next week. So how do you do this? Well, ProClass, we think, makes life easy. So I'm going to walk you through this. I've sent you the directions. Don't hesitate to reach out. People have been reaching out, and that's fine. That's what we're here for. So you have the directions, and I will do a live demo on this once I walk through the slides. So what Rob and I did on the back end is we've assigned the presenters and the class managers to their specific class. And we did that on the back end so that when you go into ProClass, you are able to access the roster for your specific course. Not all the courses, but for your specific course. So by accessing that roster, you can see who the people are that registered for your course. You could email one person or some of them, or you could email all of them. And the nice thing about using the roster in the ProClass is that, as Miriam referred to, as people drop and add a course, that roster is always current. So if you go to send an email on Tuesday and, well, no, that's not a good example. But whenever you're sending an email, you're sending it to people who are actually registered for their course, for that course. If they've dropped it, they will no longer be on the roster. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to belabor it. Here are the directions.
No,
So just to
what I-
walk you, oh, sorry, somebody had something to say? No? Okay, so you're gonna log into ProClass and then, oops, sorry, wrong direction. And then you'll see, you click on roster. Then you have to select the date that your course is on. So if you pick a date that your course is not on, nothing is going to show up. So you pick the date that your course is on. Here's the name of your course. Here's how many people are registered. And then say you want to see, oh, I want to see who's registered for my class. You can click on roster and their names will show up. I blacked out their personal information. But if you want to email them, you don't click on roster here, you click on the email. And that will take you to this screen where you check student, then continue. And then it'll show you your email is going to go to 30 recipients. All of the recipients will receive this BCC. And we ask that you, as the class manager, or if you're a presenter and sending something out yourself, you start it out with VCLLI so that if people are trying to find an email, they can search more readily with the VCLLI. And then here is the body of your email. Now, you can copy paste this information that we sent you in an email. You can copy this, and then when you go to put it in here, oops, when you go to put it into the body of the email in ProClass, you have to use the Control V. So you press down the Control button and then hit V, and that will copy, that will paste that content into the body of this email. I didn't know that. I learned it in the last orientation. So I'm so happy to know that.
And that was
because-
Control V as in Victor, right?
Yes, Control V as
Yeah.
in Victor.
Great.
Yes.
I'm now, okay, so you look for a pen 1 second and I miss. Okay, so in other words, you're not typing on, you take an email that you, right, and then have to paste it in, you cannot.
Well, I mean, you could type it in yourself if you wanted to, but I sent you an email with this content in
Right.
it. So you could just copy it and then paste it back into here, into this email, or you can just type it in yourself. It
Right,
doesn't
I mean-
matter.
Right. I mean, you're typing it in yourself and all 30 people can get it, right? You don't have to type, right?
Right, because
Okay.
this email is gonna go to the 30 recipients,
Correct,
all
okay.
BCC.
Got it, got it.
Yep.
got it.
Okay, any other questions on that? Okie dokie. And then here's the content, which we've talked about. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and I'm gonna do a new share. And let's see here. I'm going to share this. Okay, and let's see here. Just bear with me for 1 minute. Here. I thought I had this pulled up, but I guess not. All right, can you see Vassar College Lifelong Learning, our homepage?
Yeah.
Everybody sees it. Okay. So I just want to go over a few things that I talked about in real time. So here's the semester course materials. When you click on that, this is what you're going to see. You click on that link. And then here are some of the courses. Now, when I clicked on these, this is protected, this is copyrighted content that Mihai will be using. So the class manager will send out the password. And I think I checked out all these, all 4 of these classes right now are all copyrighted content.
So when will the class manager or me get the password for my course?
I don't know when Mihai's gonna do that. I'm gonna ask him that too. Do you know, Rob?
I asked about that and it sounded like it was on his to-do list.
Okay,
So I think if I was the class manager of a class that had copyrighted material, I would start bugging Mihai maybe Tuesday before the Friday of the first class, just to,
unless it's a Zoom, right?
well, if you have copyrighted material for the Zoom classes, I'm kind of saying to people, if you have all the material, give it to Mihai now and he'll put it up. But a lot of my Zoom people aren't going to have the material ready until like the day before the class.
Oh,
And
okay,
they want to send it as we go. And we have a whole different process for that.
okay. All right.
Well, I would
Go
like,
ahead, Brian.
I would like to be able to get the password to the people, 2 days, let's say, before the
Of
class,
course.
so that they
right.
can watch the first movie, which is Casablanca.
Oh, great. All right. Well, we will ask Mihai and encourage him to share that.
Great, thank you.
Uh-huh. So anyhow, this is where the current semester course materials are. And then down here is where the information for presenters and class managers is housed. Here's about that. We'll put this is an old video. We'll put this video on. But I want to demonstrate the link for the attendance on Zoom and offsite. So you click on this link. And this is what it looks like. So you click on, you pick out your class. We'll just make that up. You pick out the date. Say it's 5th. And then you'll put in maybe 20 people. And then you click submit. So that's how the off-campus attendance and the Zoom attendance is going to be done this semester. And then here we have our guidelines. So when you click on this, much of what I am, oh, wait a minute. Oh, oh, you know what? I'll have to contact Rachel. So, she got I'm glad I checked that. So this should be the guidelines, and then up here, we'll have a separate for the PowerPoint. And let's see here while we're on here, if
Did you
this
have a
sh-
question about attendance, Rachel?
Yes, I did. I wondered, I'm the class manager for the class that is at the Loeb. So I'm
Uh-huh.
wondering if that counts, is that an off-campus
Yes,
count?
yes.
Am I doing, so I'm doing the electronic version.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
So let's just click on here and see if it says anything about the shuttle. Zoom. Shuttle.
There's
Oh,
the
here's the
number.
number. Judith, here's the number. Is she there?
I still think the fact that it's here doesn't mean people in the classes have it, but we can always tell them, yeah.
Yeah. Okie dokie. So, and then I also wanted to just walk you through. So people have asked, oh, so you log into ProClass. How do you actually log into ProClass? It's not intuitive. So you do have to go to course registration. And then about 2/3 of the way down the page, you will click on ProClass. All right. And then you'll log in, and my name and number, or my name and password shows up. And then I'll click on roster.
Wait a minute, where was roster?
Okay, we'll go back. So once you,
I see, it's in the left-hand corner.
yep, upper left-hand corner, click on roster. And then the course is going to be March 8th. I'm signed up for Wise Aging. And this would be who's in the class. I don't want to open that up because it's all people's personal information. But if I'm going to email them, click on email, then student, then continue. And then in here, so it shows that there are 20 people, and I would type in VC, LLI, and then Wise Aging, and then whatever information you want, the course information, so on and so forth, where it's located. So it's not a lot of steps. When you look at the directions, it can seem like, oh my God, what is this? But when you actually do it, it's pretty easy. Any questions on that or comments or anything? Okie dokie. So I'm going to, I think that's all I was gonna demo, right? Rob, I think I got everything. So I'm gonna stop sharing that, and I'm going to now go back to our let's see, our PowerPoint, and whoops. Back to where we were. And I think we're right here. And we'll do it from here. Okay. There we go. Okay, take it away, Rob.
Okay.
And I'm
So,
gonna mute myself, Rob. Okay.
okay. So, the big thing to know about Zoom classes is that a lot of people are afraid to be class manager of them. And so I was asked to kind of try to provide a way to help people feel comfortable. And the approach that I'm taking is to do all the normal stuff like presentations and documents and everything. But for all the Zoom presenters and the Zoom class managers, I've offered them separate in-person, or not in person, but on Zoom in person meetings to support them so that they can practice whatever it is, claiming host or whatever. So that is a little bit different. We're trying to change it into more of a experiential learning experience rather than here's how to do it, you're on your own. So the first thing to know if you're doing a Zoom class or you're class manager for Zoom, take advantage of me. I'm here to help. Of course, we're going to give you the link. All the links are assigned. The important thing to know about the links is it's the same for the whole semester. If you're a class manager or a class presenter, the Zoom link will stay the same. In fact, the Zoom links are all always live. So if you need sort of like a meeting room to talk to your class manager in another day or whatever, you can use that link and both show up at the same time, and you'll have the infrastructure to support you. I said they're each a unique link. Don't confuse people by sharing that link with anybody. In fact, it's to your disadvantage if you share that link and other people start to use that for other purposes. So it's to your advantage that you have it. It's always available. It's also to your advantage that you don't abuse it. Sending out the Zoom link, yeah, we're going to send reminder emails. Zoom classes attendance are way better if you remind people 24 hours in advance. And we're going to do that. And sometimes things happen and the class gets interrupted. The class manager will shoot an email out via ProClass that says, we were interrupted and here's the instructions. In most cases, the class manager is going to tell you, click on the link and go back into the room. So I would suggest to people, if you're dropped off, the first thing you do even before you check your email is just to try to click back into the room. Next slide, please. So this is the not so secret, super secret host code. It's the same for all Vassar classes this semester. You don't have to write it down now. It's going to be distributed and class manager and presenter will be reminded of this. Why is the host code important? Because everybody is going to be allowed into the room when they click on the link, but the presenter or the class manager ought to claim host. And when you do the claim host, it's going to ask you what's the host code, and you're going to put this in. Once one of you has claimed the host, you can also grant co-host privileges to the other person, so that now you have two empowered people to do all kinds of fun and interesting things about that we'll talk about in a minute. Next slide. Okay, so since it's on my mind, I'm going to talk about all those fun and interesting things just to make sure I cover them. First off, if you're a presenter that has a presentation that you need to share with the class, you're going to use that power of a co-host or host to do that. And second of all, people might need to be muted or asked to unmute. And those are the two main powers that you have with that host code. We suggest that you come in 15 minutes early. When I was the presenter classes that I did, I got here more early because I enjoyed talking to people, and a fair number of people just show up early if they're interested in talking. It's kind of like office hours, I guess. The other reason to show up 15 minutes early is sometimes people have technical difficulties, and it's nice to be working out technical difficulties before you're supposed to start the lecture. So I encourage people to come, especially if they're a little uncertain about their technology, to come a little early and get online. The presenter and the class manager need to work together to keep control of the classroom, and you're going to talk to your counterpart and work out how you're going to do that. It might be the good bad cop thing, or it might be something else, but you guys are going to have to figure out, especially for those larger Zoom classes. I usually like to keep it under 20, and I feel like I can control that by myself. Without the mute all button, I'm not sure if I could do a class with 50 people in it. Okay, so keep that in mind. I would say if you're a class manager, try to do your best to let the presenter have like a full mind, like don't not be distracted by things. So if you're watching the chat box for him or her and some relevant comments come up, let them know. And so, or if they're not so relevant, let them keep going until he gets to a natural breaking point, and then suggest that he address those chat comments. Connectivity. Yeah, this is a big unknown. Sometimes when you're in a Zoom, the voice gets garbled, and then the next thing you know, the picture's flipping in and out and stuff. And that's because one or more of the participants has a connectivity issue where the bandwidth in and out of their computer isn't keeping up. And so sometimes asking people to turn off the video helps. Sometimes if everybody mutes, it helps. Sometimes it just gets better all by itself. So I would say to people, be situational and try different things, but don't be too sure that anything is going to work other than just waiting. Next slide, please. You can see the participants, and usually we set it to gallery view like you're in now. You can also see participants by bringing up the list, which is in the bottom row, participants. It shows how many people. By the way, that's handy for attendance because you can say 16 done, I'm done with the attendance. And you can also, there's a chat icon. It'll pop up a little window where you can see the chat. Next slide. Oh, raising hand. Let me mention the hand raise is under reactions in that toolbar. So if you're going to use hand raises as a way to signal, like in a big class, you can use that reactions and then raise hand button, and it'll show up, and then ask them to put down their hand when they're done when you've answered their question. Like Mary Beth has done so dutifully here. See, her hand is up. That's what it looks like. And when she clicks it down, that it'll come down. Next slide, please. So we're recommending to begin every class with a mute all and unmute the presenter. If you've only got 8 people in the class and you're all getting along real good, you might choose to let people stay open, but that's going to be personal choices between the presenter and the class manager. Again, they're going to talk about how to manage questions and comments, and we've already talked about the options: raise hand, chat, and unmute to speak. Next slide. So, tips for the presenter. I think we're all pretty hip on this now that we've been through all that COVID Zooming, but pay attention to your lighting, aim the camera at yourself, try to declutter your background. Certainly don't put any embarrassing books or flags or anything in the background that'll distract people. There's a recommendation here that I don't actually follow, but if you have $12 a month to upgrade your Zoom account, you can play YouTube videos without the commercials. I'm able to use a little bit of fancy footwork to cue them up ahead of time, and I usually avoid the commercials that way. But I'm a cheapskate, so that's just me. Next slide, please. Tips for teaching online. Zoom is different depending on the device that you're using. So I've been in rooms where some person is dumb enough to ask the whole question, a question to the whole class, and everybody shouts out different answers. It's because some of them are on iPads and some of them are on MacBook Pros and some of them are on Windows machines and some of them are using their cell phone. So because we're using different devices, it's sometimes there's different answers. And so be aware of that. And if you're trying to help somebody, ask them, what device are you using? And if you know that advice, go ahead and help them. If you don't know the device, wait for somebody else to step up to help them. Here again, performance, if the presenter's video gets choppy, you can sometimes turn off your own video to reduce bandwidth, or you can mute yourself, and there's options there. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes waiting is the best answer. If other people in your home are doing bandwidth intensive activity like gaming or microsecond stock trading or watching Netflix, they can possibly consume enough bandwidth from your connection to mess up your enjoyment of the class. So you might have to do a little household negotiation there to get your bandwidth that you need to enjoy the class. And if you're ever wondering what's with my bandwidth, there's a link mentioned here in the presentation, but you can also go to Google search and say bandwidth test, and there's 8,000 different ways to test it, and they're all pretty accurate. So if you're curious, you can run the test. And it even tells you the numbers don't mean anything to most people. So it tells you you're doing pretty good, or hey, your connection is poor. Next slide, please.
Rob, the one thing that Tim Ryan suggested is to share, well, this is what he thought was a good idea. He was a class manager on Zoom, and he shared his phone number with the class registrants so that if they had a problem during the class, they could call him. So I don't know if that's...
It's certainly something to consider.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll have the tech support number or the email, and they'll have the class manager's email. And I guess if I was the class manager, I would say, if I'm checking my email, if I'm not going to check my email, I should give out my phone, because the phone rings and it'll come up. So yeah, that's a okay solution. Everybody has their own conventions for how they like to communicate via phone or email. If you do take a phone call and you're the class manager, what do you have to do? Mute, so you don't draw the whole class into the problem. Next slide.
Poppy, shush.
So there's these two not so obvious buttons at the bottom of the share screen. And if you're going to be showing videos on YouTube and sharing them with the class, you probably want to check those boxes, because Zoom, if it knows that you're going to do that, it can do a little bit better job of sharing them. So just be aware of those little check boxes. And if you're just sharing your presentation, you don't need to check them. But in order to share your presentation, you're going to have to click that little green button at the bottom there that says share your screen. And then you're going to be confronted with a somewhat bewildering set of options as to sharing your whole screen or just a window or whatever. And I'm going to suggest that everybody practice the share screen, because especially on my Macintoshes, every once in a while, it seems like Zoom loses the permissions it needs to share with the screen or to share other applications. So if there's a permissions issue, it'll tell you, and hopefully you're not online with a 50-person class and trying to do it. You can resolve that sharing issue. And on Macintoshes, I can tell you, it involves just going to settings and clicking the allow button to share the screen. And, you know, I've been doing Zoom for the last, I don't know, 5 years now, even before COVID. And it just seems like the last 6 months I've had that setting toggle on and off for no good reason. So just be aware of that. Next slide. Yeah. So Zoom is a real company and they have real support. And if you're curious, you should go to their help center and you can learn all there is to know about Zoom. And if you don't have the inclination or the time to do this, you should call me and we should practice a little bit. I've been doing this all week with the class managers and the presenters, some of which I twisted their arm and said, "Oh, you can do it, you can do it." and they said, "Well, will you help me?" And I've been helping them. So anybody who needs any help with Zoom, I'm happy to sit with them and practice like mock classroom activity, just so that they can feel comfortable on Tuesday. Next slide. Yeah, so definitely you want to know how to share your screen. I would say 99% of Zoom presenters need to do that. And I would say that the other three things, the polls, the breakout rooms, and annotation, are optional for people who want to get fancy. And I have nothing against getting fancy, but I would say that if you feel that you want to do these things, practice them. If you don't know how to use them, but you're like, oh, this would be really cool, I'd be glad to help you with them. But those are, I would consider advanced constructs. Next slide. And
Ta-da!
next thing is pizza.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, and also on Friday, if you are teaching on campus, there's going to be at 11 in Kenyon 132, an orientation to the classroom technology. And then we'll have a little bit of a pizza party following that in the hospitality room. So you're welcome to come, whether you need to go to the classroom, you know, the orientation to classroom technology, you're more than welcome to come to the pizza party. And we thought it might be a opportunity to just kind of get to know each other and face to face. And so everybody's welcome for that. All right.
Any questions about Zoom or concerns?
Or yeah.
That's the way I like it.
All righty. Well, we thank you all for coming. And some of you, I think, we'll see on Friday, and we hope to see all of you at the pizza party. So thank you so much for